Asante sana. ありがとうございます。
Can we give our experts another round of applause? Thank you very much. Our Director General, my colleagues, good morning. I'm honored to address you today as we gather for our first quarterly knowledge sharing forum. I want to express my excitement, gratitude. These meetings are not just ticking off the PC. They are about much more meaning. They are about celebrating our wins, learning our stumbles, and figuring out together how we can keep getting better. So let's dive in and make the most of this opportunity to learn and grow as a team. And I want to repeat that, to learn and unlearn. Because if we just learn and we do not unlearn, we'll still continue with the bad habits. I would like to extend my gratitude to the Director General for your support and leadership in institutionalizing knowledge management within the authority. Your foresight and dedication has been instrumental in laying the foundation for the more informed and collaborative and innovative future of the authority. We in the Directorate are delighted for the operationalization of the knowledge management function, which happened early in the last financial year, and the initiative we have undertaken to foster a culture of learning and innovation within the authority. We wish to share some of the milestones that we have achieved so far. We are in the final stage of knowledge management strategy for 2023-2027, which is awaiting approval. It seeks to harness our collective intelligence, innovative capacity to achieve sustainable management of the road infrastructure. Furthermore, we have developed an online repository which is housing a vast collection of policies, manuals, other reference material to support our research. This repository will provide a digital platform for storing, accessing, and sharing knowledge asset, ensuring easy and seamless access to information for all our employees, regardless of their location. You can kindly go to our SharePoint and you'll be able to get this repository. A physical library is scheduled to be developed in the next financial year. We're intending to have it in this building, and the place will be one where one can access physical books, be a place that is quiet, serene, and conducive to read. We have also taken a proactive step to protect the integrity of the authority's brand by registering the KENA logo with Kenya Industrial Property Institute, the KIPI. I think we are having a big risk there. Nobody has ever misused our logo because it has not been registered all these years, 15 years we have been in existing. This initiative underscores our commitment to upholding the values and the reputation of the authority, which will ensure that our trademark are legally protected against unauthorized use or infringement. We purpose that in future, any innovation done by KENA will be registered promptly. Additional, as has been said by Deputy Director Research, we have developed an innovation portal which was launched by the CS during the first KENA Innovation Conference. It serves as a dynamic platform for external stakeholders and staff to submit their creative innovation ideas and collaborate with their colleagues, contributes towards innovation across the authority. So far, we have received 11 ideas through the portal. It's called Kenvate, and you can easily access it through our website. These ideas are being processed for evaluation, for viability, before we do further implementation of the same. I urge every one of us to utilize this platform to contribute their innovation for the advancement of the authority. We are proposing a policy for rewarding excellent and exceptional innovation. Today's initiative of our first quarterly knowledge sharing forum will not only enable us to build a rich repository of invaluable knowledge, but also ensure that we leverage the profound insight and experience of our existing and retiring staff. On such forum, we will learn the best practices from our colleagues, new ideas, and innovation. I wish to commend Engineer Ezekiel Fuko, Director at HDS, and Engineer Jared Makori for being the pioneer in this journey of knowledge sharing. In conclusion, let us embrace the opportunity that lay before us, and commit ourselves to pursuit of excellence through knowledge sharing, innovation, and collaboration. Together, we can chart a course towards a brighter future for the authority and for the people of Kenya. It's now my duty to invite our DG and our captain in knowledge management to address us. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. Hey, why is the room so cold? I'm wondering, you didn't give them tea? Engineer Fuko? There is some tea. Thank you very much, our colleagues from Japan, for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I'm happy to see, we are going to see some images of Akashi Kaikyo. It's a famous structure. If you visit Japan, I think it's almost mandatory you visit that bridge, at least on JICA programs, and it's a very impressive structure. But we are gathered here this morning, ladies and gentlemen, on knowledge sharing. And it is important that we reflect on how we used to share knowledge. When I was seated there, I was trying to remember how knowledge would be shared in the old days. When you'd be around a fire in the African setup, and you are told stories about several things, and the knowledge will come from the older people to the younger people, and it would be expected that those younger people will send that knowledge to the next generation. Somehow, organizations such as ourselves have not done very well in passing that knowledge. Engineer Juguna, you mentioned the retiring officers. And while it is true, we've had quite a number of them leave this organization. They have gone, and I'm sure they are busy in their lives. Probably they are no longer too bothered about many things. So the opportune time to share knowledge cannot be at retirement. The opportune time for us to share knowledge is in our everyday work. And I'm very happy that we have this inaugural knowledge sharing forum where we share what is actively being learned and what is actively being used. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I wish we could reflect a bit on the innovation. And we all know that we have put innovation as part of our core values. But then, for you to innovate, you must have some knowledge. And why do we seek knowledge? We seek knowledge because we intend, number one, to excel in our performance as an organization. And we are keen on making sure that operational excellence is achieved in every sphere of everything that we do. But as we do that, we must be keen on creating the future. Because the Kenya of tomorrow is not the Kenya of today. The challenges that face this organization are not the challenges we faced when we started off as Kenya. Back then, at some point, and Jogona, you can testify, there was 1 year we were closing the books of accounts. And we were looking for anybody we could pay. Is it true? We were looking for any contractor with an IPC. Uko na moja tulipe. Now, that was a challenge then. The challenge today is that we have pending bills, which are well understood by most of us. Back then, we were dealing with a smaller, a much shorter network. Today, our network has grown. There is clamor to push more roads to Kenya. That is a different challenge. Back then, we had come from a situation where our stakeholders expected probably a lesser, or were used to a lesser level of service. Today, anybody sees a pothole, the hullabaloo that follows, the calls I get personally are quite a number. So those are different challenges, and therefore, we have restructured and established a dedicated research, innovation, and knowledge management department, and the deputy director is here with us. We are very happy with the activities that you have started off, and we promise to support that department so that it plans the journey for us into the future. And we note that the road sector plays a pivotal role in efficient transportation and economic development. And also it is a knowledge-intensive domain that relies on expertise from diverse sources. And as part of our commitment to fostering innovation, knowledge sharing and exchange, and continuous learning, we have purpose to ensure that the wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences from staff that staff acquire during their work engagement in developing and managing the National Trunk Road is not only preserved, but leveraged to drive operational excellence. And I'm happy, Engineer Njuguna, you have mentioned unlearning. Because you see, we all do certain things in a certain way. And I think that's just the way we are wired as human beings. And probably it's a good thing that we do things in a particular way, because that brings social order. You can imagine if some of the people came in jeans, some of the people are standing, some of the people are lying on the floor, there would be no social order. There must be a way of doing things. But you know, you must give a chance to new ideas. And you cannot give a chance to new ideas unless you unlearn what you have already learned. Now, to achieve this excellence in operations, I have no doubt that the establishment of knowledge management function in the authority will propel us forward. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. Our commitment for a knowledge and innovation-driven authority can be demonstrated through the implemented Central Knowledge Repository and Innovation Management Portal, also known as KenHabit. And this platform has become a vital tool in documenting and disseminating the groundbreaking ideas that emanate from within our lands. I'm happy to note that we do have 11 ideas on KenHabit. I do hope they'll be shared in this forum. I do expect that a number of them will proceed to something we can implement. And we do have a commitment to ensure that those ideas that can be, brought forward and be made into part of what we do, we will learn with them. Expect our support. Let us have the ideas flowing. 11, I think, is a little bit of a small number. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, we need to agree that there's a difference between invention and innovation. And I don't think we're asking for invention. We're asking for innovation. So no idea should be thought to be too small if you think it can propel this organization forward. And as we look ahead, the quarterly forums on the road sector knowledge sharing and exchange will be held quarterly in every financial year. And this fora will be dedicated to share insights and experience, best practices, lessons learned, knowledge exchange in order to collectively address challenges that the authority is likely to face as we carry out our mandate. These fora are not just some other meetings, but are opportunities to celebrate our achievements, to learn from our challenges, and to collaboratively forge a path forward in our quest for excellence. I'm particularly interested in the documentation of critical lessons learned from our implementation of projects. And we do have gaps, and we all agree, in several areas. When I look at, say, the Japanese way of managing safety through work zones, it is not what we do. It's an area for innovation. It's an area that we who are in this room can propose a few things that we can run with and actually change, because the accidents that happen in work zones, particularly when you talk of the maintenance contractors, they may not be too keen on some things. Even our construction, there are places you go and you get concerned. So I'm giving you ideas not to think of invention, think of innovation. And I encourage each one of us to actively participate in this forum and to make regular contributions to our knowledge hub and innovation portal. And your ideas, your experiences, and your insights are going to fuel the growth of this authority and make it successful. As we launch the knowledge sharing and exchange series this morning, let us seize this moment to reaffirm our commitment to knowledge management and innovation. And together we will build a stronger and more resilient authority that is well equipped to navigate the complexities of the road sector and to deliver on our mandate with unwavering excellence. Finally, I wish to thank everyone who has participated in this forum. And this gathering marks the beginning of a new era as we embark on a journey of collaboration, idea exchange, sharing of knowledge that will undoubtedly shape the future of our road infrastructure in Kenya. And I'm happy to note that this is coming before we hold the annual conference. I believe plans are still there for us to hold a conference again on innovation. And so it is very good that we keep up with this and we make it regular. The quarterly sessions must be held. And my suggestion is, do not look in-house. When we look at maintenance, for instance, of our facilities, have you ever thought of sitting down with the KQ guys on how they maintain their aircraft? That you and I just jump into an aircraft and we take off. How is it that they are able to confirm that their maintenance works? I'd be happy to invite Engineer Juguna, somebody from General Motors, the ones who are assembling vehicles, to tell us how they keep the quality of vehicles when they assemble them. Don't you think that infusion would help us? Because when you look inside, sometimes you don't get the ideas that you need. But I'm sure there are things you can learn from the guys in Kenya Airways, how they maintain aircrafts, and then you put into practice into what you do. The General Motors and others. So let us widen this reach, where we just have a talk like today. You can make it a bit better by inviting such a person to present a paper. All right? And so as we go forward, I'm sure it will improve. It is our first one, but I'm sure the second one, the third one, it will be much better. And therefore, it is now my duty and honor to declare this inaugural quarterly knowledge sharing and exchange forum open. I thank you all.
Thank you, thank you. A more innovative round of applause for the DG. We have, no. Let us do 3 factorial. So 1, 2, 3. One round more, 3 factorial. Don't you think that's innovative? Now, let's have the first and maiden speaker hit the floor so that the knowledge starts flowing, and we will have Director HDS, Engineer Fuko, to lead in that session. And feel free to appreciate whenever you see a point. I saw some of us restraining to appreciate when the DG gave a confirmation that he will support the research department in that endeavor. So for that, feel free to grab just one. Yes, so that's what we'll use for appreciating ideas. Thank you.
the DG. Thank you very much, Mr. Kumba. The DG, Kenna, directors of PRC, deputy directors present, all present here. Good morning. Can we greet each other kwa hewa? There needs to be some warmth. Huh? It is my great pleasure and honor to stand before you today in this inaugural knowledge sharing session. And I would like also to acknowledge Dr. Victoria, because when he visited our office and suggested that we'll have a knowledge sharing, initially we were a bit skeptical and we didn't know that it will come to fruition. However, the day is here and we can all see, and we really appreciate that. All those who have been able to join us here and then also online. Thank you very much. What I can state just as a few remarks before I delve into the presentation is to give gratitude to the DG who is now spearheading a lot of knowledge-related activities. There was a time, I think within a month, we have done several. There is a road asset management in which training that took place in Naivasha, being run by ASEC, some experts, and was able to attend those sessions. And then we also have some members of the senior management who attended it. And then also this week, there is a claims session, which is still going in Naivasha, and the DG took it upon himself to also go for those sessions, even our director here. And we have so many directors who are also there in Naivasha on the same. So the issue of knowledge is being run from top management by the DG, our captain himself. Can we be able to clap for him for that initiative? So the authority is on the right trajectory, and I can see even by the attendance, we have young engineers here showing insatiable appetite for more knowledge. And as you all are aware, this part of the world, it's like we don't know much so that we can be able to solve our problems that we experience. There are myriad of them. Or perhaps the relevant knowledge to enable us to actualize what we want. And as you know, there is power in knowledge and more power in applied knowledge. So sometimes the knowledge that we have, the scant one, we not even apply it at the same time. So we want to move away from that narrative and go to a place whereby we'll gather as much knowledge as possible and also be able to apply this knowledge. Even the Bible itself admonishes us that in the book, I think Hosea, says, my people die or perish due to lack of knowledge. So we are perhaps struggling in life, being stranded, just because we don't know the relevant knowledge that should enable us to sort the problems that are bedeviling us. So I want to start this session by first asking a rhetorical question. How many of you passed through Form 4? Raise your hand. Eh? Form 4. The rest, Muli, some are happy. So the reason for asking this is because in Form 4 during our time, we did Kiswahili, and there was a fasihi book called Kusadikika. Watu wa kusadikika wako wapi? It's like, it's many years ago. There was a Kiswahili book called Kusadikika, and this Kusadikika, there was a story of, there was that Kusadikika place who used to send envoys to specific places. Wajumbe, they used to call them wajumbe. So there was mjumbe wa kaskazini, mjumbe wa mashariki, mjumbe wa kusini, na mjumbe wa kusini. And each mjumbe used to come with reports. So some came up with very positive reports, but there was one particular one which to date I still remember, plus also our group of that cohort that did that book. There was a place called Mashariki, North is what? North is Kaskazini. This guy went there, and what he saw was, it was very interesting. He found there a king, a mfalme called Mfalme Jeta. And this Mfalme Jeta, he said that he was so greedy, he was a personification of greed, exemplification of greed, because he was eating everything. He was eating chuma, he was eating mbao, He was generally eating everything. So, since we read that book, we have even developed a lexicon as regards to greediness. We call somebody, hey, huyu jamaa ni Jeta. Just the same way that Mfalme Jeta was very greedy. So I hope we don't have Wafalme and King Jeta, Queen Jetas here. So that is, I just wanted to say that now, as we were sent to a country called Japan as Wajumbes. So I start this presentation. It is divided in three parts. The first part, I'll just give the preamble and the cultural side of the Japanese people, and then also the highway design of the Hanshin Expressway, what we were able to learn. And I can state that there are some lessons at the end, which some of them we are going to really actualize them with the support. And also, we have also started implementing some of them that we were able to gather. So there will be issue of Japanese social and corporate culture, issues of management of expressway and highways, and then we visited a city called Tamana, where they have an experiential approach to bridge maintenance. I will be able to enumerate that. So this Japan, you can be able to see how it is. Can we say it is a tall country or a thin country by looking at the map? Yeah? It is, so that is Japan, the geography, how it looks like. It has a population of around 126 million, which is roughly going to be a half of what Kenya has. But in terms of land masses, the land is about 60% of ours. And as you can see in that map, they are led by things to what we call prefectures. And as Mr. Kumba indicated, they have also interest in names. If indicated in Kiswahili, they can sound to be offensive. As you can see, on Southwest, there is a very interesting name there. We visited the place. And you see the Japanese who are here, they understand the implication of using that word. So when we were there, they were just saying, tutaenda ile mahali moto. And then, interesting, there is another place called Kanagawa. So mixing that one and that one, it becomes quite interesting. You'll read on your own to find out what it entails. So, like, depending on the country, like, for example, you cannot sell a vehicle called Pajero in Spain. It has different connotation. So in Spain, Pajero is called Shogun, but in other places, it can still be called Pajero. So Japan, they have limited resources. They import nearly everything, especially food-related things and many other issues. But they have not bowed down by that aspect of the limited resources. They have done innovations and be able to survive under the prevailing circumstances. Life expectancy, there people live for long. Some people even live up to, like for the ladies, it's 91 years, 80, and 84 for men. I think the difference should be a subject of study, why the disparity of around 7 years. But we have zones like Okinawa where people have so many octogenarians. So the Japanese, the most important critical that we like to delve in this morning is the aspect of culture, basically. The language is homogeneous, it's just Japanese, and issues with culture is very critical. In Japan, they have different religions. In fact, when I reached there and I was able to interact with the people, I thought now those are the main, their behavior and everything that they do. It is what we Christians should be able to adopt, because they don't go to church, but what they do is what are the attributes of a good religious man should be. So what we are able to learn about theirs is that they value issues to do with group harmony and respect. People there work as a team, and there is a lot of respect. Whether you have money or not, you are treated with a lot of respect. Even you see the way they greet you, the way they just present themselves to you. So issues of respect and teamwork is very critical. And it is something that is worth emulating. The culture also, they are very polite in terms of their communication, and they do a lot of non-verbal communication. Even when we went there, we had a very good arrival experience. We were, they really were planned so well to welcome us, and we really felt at home from the beginning, based on their culture of respect, irrespective of who is there. And they really do it very well consistently, not when visitors are there only, but it's part of nature and a part of their lives. We also have issues of cleanliness. Their cities are very clean, and they do not have trash bins. It's not that they are clean because we have a lot of trash bins around. It's just a culture issue. And I'm glad even the DG indicated that he has been to Japan, and some of the engineers here. So whatever that I'll be telling you will not be, we call them stories ajaba. So so there's some people who can be able to attest to what we have been able to emulate today. Now, they also do issues to do with safety and caring. It's not only about safety of safety in terms of the normal. When you move to site, they are very particular about aspects of safety. You will see, even as we inspect some photos, as we inspected the sites, we have helmets and all the safety regalia. I recall there was a time we were inspecting something in the middle of nowhere in a bush, but they were able to put cones and everything, not to assume anything. So that is a very important lesson from their end. And issues of punctuality. In fact, if there's one thing that one can get from this place, is their admirable issue to do with timekeeping and time management. Because without keeping time, there is a lot of wastage, and we are not able to be able to attain what we want. So they highly value time and punctuality. And funny enough, all the people who we went with in the training, we all of a sudden, based on the new environment, none of them came late to any meeting. So we adopted that culture when we were there, and we are praying to God that we sustain it as we continue moving forward, because it is a very important aspect. Because even if we have grandiose plans, but we don't have some basics in our culture, the way we do our things, or everything that we plan comes to a cropper. Yeah. So there is that element, and again, they value issues to do with their tradition, which they blend with it has helped them to be where they are, their cultural and the tradition. They really value it, and as you can see in that photo, there is bowing. It is always a mandatory thing. Even me, I'd also started bowing. By the time I think I came to JKI, I stopped that. But I believe when you go to Rome, you do as the Romans do. So in this session, we'll want also to glean what we can be able to implement within our setup. They have also done a lot of advancement, and there is quite a relationship between the past and the present, and they have really been able to use what was the lessons they learned from the past to be able to inform how to do things better, move in their place, and it has really enabled them to move forward in a proper way. As you can see in the photo, there was a time this building was trending. I can assure you that it exists. We visited it, and it is something that can be done. So they use whichever means to address the issues that afflict them. So basically, just as a nutshell, the tradition and innovation leads to optimal productivity, and there is prioritization. They focus on essential tasks that align to the overarching goals, ensuring efficient use of time and resources. Also, there is efficiency where they have streamlined their processes and the workflow, and which eliminates the many unnecessary steps. I can, at this juncture, say that they have embraced simplicity. They have embraced simplicity in their processes, that any person who can be engaged in doing all those things, they can be able to follow up very seamlessly. Aspect of discipline, of course, they are very disciplined, and that has also worked very well in their way of doing things. Just a snapshot of the general philosophies of the Japanese. they have what we call Pomodoro technique, which somebody works for 25 minutes, takes a nap, and then continue with work like that. Maybe they do it in 4 breakages and those sessions. So you can be able to read about this Pomodoro, which has helped them to really achieve much within a short time. Then there is Kaizen, which I think the DG also talked about issues to do with the continuous improvement, which is very critical. They value this, and it is said that if you improve yourself 1% within 1 year, by the time the year ends, the level of improvement will have compounded. It's also on the other flip side. If you degenerate by 1%, the opposite happens. So you read about the Kaizen philosophy, and it has been core to the Japanese people. Also, we have issues to do with monokuzuri, which has to do with attention to detail and pride in whatever that they do. No one wants in Japan to be associated with a mediocre product. Somebody will even rather not live, but have something done properly. These slides we shall be able to share with you, because we are just running through because of issues of time. We are just giving you the flavor. Then there is that's a commitment to continuous improvement. There is the embrace tradition while embracing innovation. And as DG indicated, we have to separate innovation and invention. So sometimes what some of us are doing, we are trying to invent something. But we need to move away to that, to issues of innovation. As I indicated earlier, there is collaborative ethos and consensus in decision making. That is also very pronounced there. And then adaptability to change. There is a lot of training and development there that takes place, taken very seriously. And then they also experiment a lot. And by you failing, there is fear of failure. By you failing is just getting to know which method cannot work. So we should also embrace the fact that you can be able to fail, but we learn from those issues of failing. Now, in summary, basically, we have done a summary at the end of the slides on the way forward, but this is just to give you an overview of how these things. We'll do a summary of the key highlights and key takeaways that can be implemented, and even some we have started implementing. So there is the management of the expressway highway. After the Second World War, in which also Japan played a critical role, there was a challenge with infrastructure. Their roads were dilapidated, and there was many people started buying cars. So Japan came up with the ideas, the Japanese people, on how to sort this. And there's been a great shift, and now many people are using vehicles, and there's been improvement of infrastructure to meet that demand. By the way, Japan network is 1.2 million kilometers. Compared to ours, we are around 23,000. So theirs is around 50 times ours. But they have been able to come up with mechanisms to be able to address those challenges that they face through. They came up with plans to ensure that is actualized. And they came up in 2005, they started privatizing companies which can be able to assist. For example, the way Moja is doing the expressway. So their facilities are being run by private companies, which, because there were also issues to do with infrastructure is very expensive. So there has to do issues to do with, they also had issues of debt repayment, and then also the problems that we're also experiencing. But they have been able to address it through private involvement of the private sector. So with that, they have been able to get to the level of 1.2 million kilometers like that. And then 90% of their network is up in terms of viaduct. So in summary, we need to have systematic allocation of resources. And this one, we need to implement dedicated funding mechanism for infrastructure project. Then we need long-term planning and execution. I don't believe there is any country or people who beat Japanese like planning. They spend most of their time 80% of their time in planning and then the other in execution. And we could also see that and attest to that, even when we arrived at the airport, all our minutes had been planned for. Even if you'll go to a restaurant, they tell you, here we shall be here for only 10 minutes. And woe unto you if you'll not be there, others will be there, and the life will move on without you. So suddenly all of us, we were very compliant in terms of, based on the plannings that they do. So planning is very key. Then when we plan, we are able to see all the inherent risks, and we are able to address them and mitigate. Also the issue of PPP, there it's very big, even the issue of Anshin. And this one, they have fostered a partnership with the private sector, and the issues of tolling is a normal. So as a future generation or a current generation, be ready for tolling. That is, if Japanese, they sell us Toyotas, they sell us very good vehicles, and they still, within the infrastructure, they have to toll. So this idea of tolling is the future if you are to address the issues of maintenance and then also the backlog of the roads that we are supposed to deal with. They also focus on some strategic essential infrastructure which provide with them maximum returns once implemented. Now, based on that, we visited a place called Tamana just as a case study to be able to see what they were doing. In Tamana, they were more or less using what we call the in-house team to be able to do their things. They have around 830 structures, of which we have only a team of 3 looking at them. So, and we discovered they are very organized because they have all the bridge ledger, and then they have a principle that they do what they have to do under the circumstances that are prevailing, and they do not consign themselves to fate that there are no resources. And then they also have the do-it-yourself mentality. So as much as also we're experiencing, as you can see, no budget doesn't mean that I can't do it. And so there's that mantra, there's a budget, also you can do it. So under whichever circumstance they have been able to innovate and be able to do something in that regard. So they are able to leverage on the skills of their expertise who are there, and then they also do a lot of practical in terms of on-job land training. As you can be able to see in the photo, we had gone to Tamana and they took us to the various sites which they are doing, and we were able to see what how it was. And you can see the issues of workplace safety. As the DJ had mentioned, that is an area that we can also leverage on as part of innovation. So the safety is critical, and they use very little resources to be able to achieve, and they are more practical. They do something and then they move to the ground to implement. So some of the lessons that we learned there is invest in engineering proficiency, where we need to establish a training program for engineers and maintenance personnel, which is going on, but it needs to be upscaled and also documented. And also we have opportunities like this for all those people who will go for training to come and tell us, we sent you somewhere. Did you find Mfalmejeta? Ama, what did you come to do? What information of value are you bringing on board? And I believe with this, people will be more serious because they'll know that they'll be coming to stand here to be able also to present on the lessons that they have learned. Then there is overcoming financial constraint with determination. They explore alternative, and then they also prioritize maintenance and in terms of doing their things. And then they leverage so much on human capital. Where a culture of innovation and problem solving is inculcated. Just the way we are seeing CBC, you are told to sort things within the environment, what you have. Then there is a lot of on-job training, which is very practical, and that has also enabled them to go ahead. And there's a lot of specialization. There you don't find people being jacks of all trades. You find if somebody is in structures, he concentrates on a certain element as far as that is concerned. Then prioritize regular inspection. That has been, they prioritized some inspection. There was an incident in which a bridge collapsed and it precipitated a policy change, and they indicated that structures based on the sizes, they are to be inspected within a certain interval. Then there is the aspect of proactive maintenance. Rather than reactive, we need to be active in our maintenance and also foster a culture of responsibility for asset management and maintenance. Then share best practices, which we are now also having that platform. We need to have people, when they do something, they need to share their knowledge where it worked. And then there is a lot of community engagement. They work closely with the various community. If DJ, you can recall, when we went to Tana River, when we went under, there was another guy who was showing us some defects which he had noted on that river. So Japanese has done it in a structured way that such people have been incorporated in their activities so that they keep on more or less inspecting for them, and in case of anything, they are able to report on time, and they are also trained as required. So basically, I'll be returning to give the way forward on what we have distilled in all these aspects that we were able to learn and things that can be implemented within the authority. You see now, this thing is more abridged. We were there for 2 weeks. The thing was very intense, and therefore, we could not, for this session, just give everything. But the rest is available. We'll be able to avail it accordingly. But what I'd like also us to really think and reflect, even if it's just for this session, issue of time management. That one is one thing that we need to think, and it will be able to assist us in self-discipline to be able to actualize most of the things that we plan to do. So, and in conclusion, Kenya is a very beautiful country. As Mr. Fujiwara has indicated, yeni Kenya daima. So you might think that those other countries are better than us, but once you go there, number one, when we were there, I never saw anything green on the table. There was no Mrenda, there was those things. So there are some things that you take for granted in your country, but when you go out is when you discover, yes, they have all these very nice things and whatnot, but also if we can take their best and then domesticate here, localize here, I believe there will be many Wajumbes flocking JKIA just to come and see what we are doing in this country. So I want to leave it at that and invite Engineer Makori to delve into the other detailed explanations. Thank you.
Good morning. DG, directors, colleagues, I'm going to do the second part of the presentation, and it will dwell mostly on issues to do with maintenance of bridges or structures. There might be, because the whole concept is, we're dealing with the life cycle of structures, there might be repetitions from, I mean, you'll be able to appreciate, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with one unit. So that's why there could be aspects that you think are repetitive, but at the end of the day, you'll appreciate how they fit into each other. So I'll cover issues to do with the bridge maintenance and management and mechanisms and damaging mechanisms, inspection, that's diagnosis as executed by the Hanshin Expressway, which is one of the agencies that was involved during our training. We'll touch on issues to do with the mechanism called the SCORE and the damage it does to structures. We'll also talk about innovative ways of managing bridges and maintenance and management plans, and preparation of the bridge maintenance and management plan, and also disaster preparedness and how we can be able to learn from the lessons, the Japanese lessons, how they respond to earthquakes, because those are disasters that are very common in Japan. Now, in terms of the bridge damage mechanisms, before you even go out to inspect any bridges, you must be able to appreciate the kind of scenarios that are likely to occur in structures, such that you're able to take a very good account, a correct account of what you're going to meet. We were taken through a very thorough program of identifying and correctly classifying the various damages that occur in structures. Some occur because of the operational conditions, the traffic that the structure support. Some because of the environmental factors of where a structure is located. For instance, within the coastal area, you will find that corrosion is more common because of the saline environment. Now, there are so many other factors, of course, that can cause damage, which includes the poor workmanship, poor inferior material, and it's very good if you can be able to classify the failure mechanisms accordingly. Now, there is need to have a very good understanding of the bridge engineering before you go out to carry out any assessment. And of course, the understanding varies from maybe if you are a technician, diploma holder, all the way to an engineer or even a professional or even a professor in that particular discipline. Of importance to note is that the issue the director has talked about, there was collapse of a tunnel called Sasago that precipitated legislation on how the structures will be inspected and maintained in Japan. And that legislation is there. Every 5 years, every facility has to be inspected. A periodic inspection, a very detailed inspection has to be done. And then, depending on the condition, the appropriate remedial measures are undertaken. It was demonstrated that after 40 years of service of any particular structure, it undergoes rapid deterioration because of so many other parameters. There are issues that are not easily perceived by the inspectors, which occur within the structure, including change of the chemical composition of the material that can cause damage. And in particular, these are damages that are common in steel structures. A structure will undergo fatigue, loss of strength because of kind of the repeated oscillations of vibration. And you might not be able to know. And one morning, a structure just comes down, and according to the inspector, the structure was okay. So we were told when a structure is about 40 years, you should be able to conduct more intense inspections regularly to be able to ascertain its serviceability. There is more emphasis on preventive maintenance and predictive approaches to maintenance of structures to avoid kind of catastrophic failures. Now, the lessons we learned from here, we need to make sure that we have regular inspection. We need to learn from our incidences. If an incident happens, it has to be recorded, and lessons learned also applied in subsequent events. We need to prioritize proactive maintenance strategies. We also need to utilize management information, maintenance information. And this can also help us develop trends in deterioration of our structures. We need to standardize our methodologies in terms of the approach, the maintenance approaches we have. We need to build our capacity. The technical people who are involved in inspection and maintenance must be trained. We also need to recognize the critical milestones of a structure throughout its life. A structure, we normally design a structure to last for about 120 years. But hardly do these structures get to that level because they're subjected to various parameters, various factors that reduce their lifespan significantly. There is need to also collaborate with other agencies to build our capacity to handle bridge maintenance and management. The second issue is the inspection diagnosis as carried out by Hanshin Expressway. This is an authority, one of the agencies in Japan that undertakes maintenance of part of the network they have. It's actually a private entity that manages mostly roads within the southwestern part of Japan. And what they've done is to institute a very rigorous regime of carrying out inspection. They are diagnosing the problems we have within their network. And the reason is most of their network is actually elevated. So they're in charge of roughly about 400 kilometers within the Osaka area, and 90% of that is elevated, is what you see in the expressway. So you can imagine the kind of inspection that they need to take from time to time, just to make sure that the various elements of the viaducts are in good condition. We were also shown how to develop management plans, long term for that matter, and it starts all the way from commissioning. So immediately a structure is commissioned, that traffic is allowed to use the structure, they have to carry out the initial inspection, which is called the baseline inspection, and there are regular inspections which are also done. Every time they carry out an inspection, they have to carry out some condition assessment to determine the soundness of the structure. They are even able to predict how long the structure will be able to be in use. And they also factor the growth in the numbers and traffic, because as the director indicated, there is rapid motorization in Japan. So for example, if a structure was designed when the traffic, for example, in any particular route was maybe 50,000 vehicles per day, when the traffic goes to 100,000 vehicles per day, that means there is more loading exposure to the structures, and the lifespan might be reduced significantly. So they do all those projections, and they're able to tell you when a structure should actually be decommissioned. A very good analogy that was demonstrated is the analogy between what we normally do in regular inspection and maintenance of structures to the human health care. Even as human beings, we are supposed to go for regular checkup. I don't know how many of us take time to go and for a checkup, even when you're feeling okay. It is important. And there are so many benefits that you can be able to get out of having those regular checks, and you're able to address issues on a timely basis. Early detection of a problem can actually be very cheap. What could be the challenge? Thank you. So early detection can actually enable you to fix the problem when it has not manifested. And that's what we intend to do for all our structures, because we realized when we stay for longer without inspecting the structures, and we come in when the defects have already manifested, it's very costly to remedy. So the issues again, lessons learned, inspection is very important. Data is key. You need to have the data so that you're able to properly diagnose the problems that are there within your structures, and you're able to apply corrective measures in good time. Proactiveness in terms of maintenance, don't wait until it's too late to fix any problem. Fix it while it has not manifested. Issues to do with training. We need to continue training our staff, build the capacity in-house, and also within the stakeholders that are involved in the management of bridges. The other thematic area I want to talk about is the scoring. In Japan, this was a problem some time back. It was such a serious problem that they were losing structures at a very alarming rate. And scoring is very basic. It happens within the foundation. Water, the way it's flowing around the structure. Of course, when you place a bridge within the river channel, it's an obstruction. So there'll be vortices forming around the structure. They'll scoop away the material because of the forces around there. And if it goes under, the material is taken away, then the structure loses the support. What will happen, because the structure has weight, it will either settle. Settling means that the foundation goes lower. It will tilt. It will even overturn sometimes. And when that happens, you lose the structural integrity of the structure. You cannot use that structure. For example, what you are seeing here, you cannot, nobody would like to use this particular structure. It's already collapsed. Because of this, the government created a board. Actually, it was a SCORE research and something board that was responsible for investigating the SCORE mechanisms and also recommending appropriate remedial measures. And there are quite a number of studies which have been carried out. And we were lucky to be taught by Dr. Masunaga, who was the chair of that particular board. So we learned from the best. He agreed to come to Kenya. I don't know when, but he agreed to come to Kenya. When he comes, I think through the DG, we can organize another forum so that he can speak to you and you can appreciate where they come from. So, of importance is, one, there are two options we normally have. For existing structures, let me start with the new. For the new structures, before you carry out your design, you must be able to determine the quality of the material that is forming the foundation, the riverbed. What kind of material is it? Is it highly susceptible to scoring? Is it easily erodible, for example? Number two, you also need to make sure that the shape of the pier is oval, so that you streamline the flow of the water around the pier. But we were informed, if you can avoid situating your pier within the river channel, then you solve that problem. Then, you kill that problem and you won't have to think about issues to do with the SCORE. But again, due to the kind of construction we normally undertake and the spans, the permissible spans for the structures, for example, the reinforced concrete, we are sometimes forced to place a pier within the river channel. So you must provide for protection works. As you design your pier within the river channel, make sure that, one, you anchor it below the SCORE depth. There's a SCORE depth. There's a maximum depth to which water can be able to erode the material. Secondly, you also provide protection works around it. For existing structures, there's a need to mitigate the damage of SCORE by providing protection works, widening the river channel to reduce the speed, the flow of water, compacting the channel just to make sure that it's firm enough and it's not erodible. You provide protection works in terms of blocks. They are specially designed blocks that actually retain the silt material, and it also now prevents erosion of the other material underneath. Now, this is a demonstration of the mechanism, how the SCORE happens. So water is flowing from this direction. The vortices will form around here. And of course, there is rapid kind of loosening and, of course, transfer of material that exposes the foundation. Oh, I forgot to mention, there are formulas which have been, these formulas, by the way, they've been derived through research. How the width, for example, the span of these between the abutment and the pier, or even the two intermediate piers. The formula is derived from research. That how far do you need to put the piers away to minimize the impacts of SCORE. We can also do the same. One of the questions we had, whether we can just lift these and use it in Kenya, we were told probably not, because the materials we are dealing with are different. The leaf morphologies are different, so we need to carry out our own research, but at least we can benchmark with what they've already done. So key issues, we need to understand the SCORE mechanism is very important. When you're carrying out any design, when you're carrying out, especially new designs, you must factor in SCORE. It's very important. It's important to come out with countermeasures think about it at the very stage of, the early stage of planning and design, there's need to carry out survey. Many a times, once a structure has been commissioned, we don't even go back to check whether the settlement has happened. Using technology, especially the advancements we have now in IT, you can have sensors installed in structures, and they're able to tell you whether the abutments and the piers or even the entire structure is settling. And if it's settling, by how much. It's possible to do that. Any indication of any settlement can tell you that there's a problem in the foundation. It can never be anywhere. And then that now calls for further investigations for you to be able to establish the cause of the problem. There is need to determine issues to do with the score depth computation formulas, and you also make use of it at the design stage. Of course, we also make use of the past experience and knowledge to improve our ways. The next thematic area is on the training, engineering training systems on maintenance, management, plan development. The issues around bridge maintenance and management, they provide a very structured approach so that to make sure that your structure remains serviceable throughout its service life. There are three key issues that we must consider when you're talking about the bridge management framework. Number one is the inspection. That's where you get all the data using various methods, various approaches. You can use the visual, you can use non-destructive testing, destructive testing, and even IT, sensors now, vibration, and all those. They also need to carry out condition assessment. Once you receive the data, you must be able to analyze the data so that you can make some inference from that particular data and be able to determine the corrective measure required. Number three is very important to consider human capacity, the technical capacity of the people who are going to do all these. It's actually a cycle that involves establishing an inventory, inspection, condition assessment, determining the appropriate maintenance interventions. And once those interventions have been implemented, you also update your database accordingly. Because obviously, if it's a structure you're strengthening, now the serviceability has improved significantly. So you need to update your records accordingly. Now, there is a unique approach in Nagasaki Prefecture. It's one of the prefectures near where Engineer Fuko was mentioning, involving a collaboration between the academia, the industry, government, and the citizens. It's a unique engagement where we have people coming in as volunteers, and they acquire some basic knowledge regarding bridge maintenance and management. They collaborate with the local municipalities, who are like the wards, and the prefecture, which I can liken to our counties. It's actually our counties, and of course the national government. Now, this is the arrangement that is there. So we have the volunteers who are coming here, and these are people with very basic knowledge about bridges, for example. And of course, there's a program that they have to go through. They are trained, and the University of Nagasaki is responsible for offering the training. The second tier are called Associate Michimori. They are capable of inspecting structures. So these are people who are now knowledgeable. They can actually carry out the inspection. The first, remember, the volunteer Michimori, them is just to identify what Director Fuko mentioned. When we went to Tanariba, there was a gentleman who I think resides around that area, maybe he's resident there. And he was able to point to us where the damages are. And the true, wherever he pointed, we could find either a bracing member is worn out, or there's a missing bolt, there's a crack on the lower side of the deck. So he actually qualifies to be a volunteer. He's a self-appointed volunteer. We have the specialist Michimori. These are now people who are able to carry out inspection and also undertake soundness, integrity. These are now like engineers, specialist engineers. At the highest level, we have the Michimori. Now these are capable of undertaking maintenance, developing other technologies that can be adapted. The synergy around here is that the prefecture is able to undertake maintenance of their structures, and they have quite a number of structures. And most of them are quite vulnerable because they're long-span structures, which means they're able to identify the problems, inspect them, and implement the corrective remedial measures in good time. So they have the same challenge which we have. The reason why they're innovative, the reason why they went this way is because they didn't have enough technical staff. So which means, even as we complain that probably we need more staffs and stuff, there's so much we can be able to do within ourselves with the people that we have on board. And also borrowing from the experience in Tamana, that engineers and technicians are actually involved in executing the actual work. They have tools, they've developed tools that they're able to clean the structures, they're able to fix cracks in structures. And it was demonstrated to us. And the team leader there is actually a professor in one of the universities, and he's able to do that. Why can't we do the same? The other aspect that was demonstrated is how they are able to make use of very simple tools to determine the soundness of their bridges. And some of these things, they're actually, like, the application is Excel-based. The programming is done in spreadsheet, and they are able to determine the serviceability of a structure. They're able to input all the other parameters, including the weather, including the traffic, and all those parameters. And they're able to estimate the useful lifetime or the useful service life of a particular structure. They use the same to even cost the interventions that are supposed to happen in future. We were shown how they can determine accurately the cost of maintaining a particular structure in the year 2030, in the year 2040, and the year 2060. After which, it was terminally not viable to continue maintaining it. So, which means now you have to replace it. And those are simple tools. I think we can be able to also, with a few Excel skills, we can be able to also adapt, even as we implement the BMS. So what we're able to learn from here is we have to be innovative and adapt a structured approach to maintenance of structures. We need to also invest in our human capacity. It's very important. We need to collaborate with our stakeholders. We should not, actually the clarion call was, nobody is too naive to give you variable information regarding the performance of our structure. Like we mentioned, the volunteers will only report that we've seen a problem with this structure. There's a crack. We've seen a crack either on the abutment or the beams or the girders. Now the next level, once they escalate that to the next level, the experienced people will come. You see, if you have not received that notification from the volunteer, you will not even bother to come. And a disaster will be impending. So there is also a need to rely on data. They make use of data in terms of planning for their maintenance and management of the structures. Now, the other area is preparation of the bridge maintenance and management system. And here they're talking about a systems approach. The practice before was to have so many systems addressing different aspects of the infrastructure. For example, we'll have a system on bridges, another system of utilities on the right of way, another system dealing with the pavements. That interoperability was missing. So the systems are not speaking to each other. Out of which, they were able to come up with the COSMOS, which stands for Communication Systems for Maintenance, Operation, and Service. And it's integrated all those. So all those systems are put under one platform. So, and they could be able to speak to each other. That way, it improved their efficiency in terms of analyzing the data and making decisions out of the information that is there. But Cosmos, the original Cosmos was not good enough. It was lacking in some other aspects. And that pushed them to now bring in the issues of integration with GIS. It was demonstrated that you can actually be able to see everything. For example, from the comfort of your office, you're able to see what is happening to every other part of either a bridge or a road from here in Nairobi. I think the GIS experts in the house can attest to that. Through that integration, they've become very efficient in managing their assets. But of importance, before they were able to get to where they are and the sophistication that is associated with Cosmos, GIS, they had so many misses. And that's a point I think we need to learn from. They had so many other systems which, after being developed, they wondered whether they actually needed the systems in the first place. So it's a complete waste. I don't know whether this is the route we are walking, by having so many fragmented systems that do not actually address any of our objectives. But they were able to learn, and I think they are on the right trajectory. So the lessons learned, the importance of systems. We need to integrate our systems. The systems need to speak to each other. The fragmentation does not help, and there is synergy in having one system that actually has attributes of all the assets that we have. The last aspect is disaster preparedness, and the lessons we can draw from the Japanese experience dealing with earthquakes. We understand that Japan is actually within what we normally call the ring of fire. They experience earthquakes, I think, every other day. There's a tremor somehow. But because of the challenges they've had in terms of losing vital assets, infrastructure, losing lives, property, they've been able to develop very sophisticated systems. And one of them is an early warning, earthquake early warning system that is actually based on installation of seismometers across the entire country. I think this is a depiction of the seismometers, which are positioned across the country. What happens is, once an earthquake has occurred, they are able to be recorded very quickly, and the information is shared to the public through the various medias. And I think the public is very alert there. There's usually a lag between the time the earthquake happens and the time the destructive waves arrive. I don't know whether you understand that. There's usually a lag. I think the earthquake happens and the destructive waves arrive almost there's a lag of about 2 minutes. I don't know, Nakajima-san. Is it 2 minutes? Okay, the destructive waves travel 1.7 times slower than the seismic waves. Yeah, so there is a lag where you can be able to actually undertake some measures to save lives, to take cover, and to respond in whichever way you find yourself. So because of that, they've been able to actually install that. There are regular drills which are carried out, and this is even done in schools and colleges. And regular rapid assessment of the damage to just pick lessons learned, and they document that. We were taken to a museum whereby a record of the earthquake, the destruction, of course, the magnitude, all the records are there. And also the lessons they learned from that particular quake. In around 1995, the famous Kobe earthquake happened, and it destroyed part of the Hanshin Expressway. This part of the Hanshin Expressway that was destroyed is a viaduct, collapsed because of the earthquake. And I remember 2011, again, there was the Tohoku Miyagi earthquake of March, 11th March of 2021, and which also devastated a nuclear plant, if you remember. But early warnings around the way they respond to the disasters has helped them cope. But of importance to note is the way they use their lessons to now improve their designs. We were taken to a site whereby now the design of bridges or the design of the viaduct has shifted from using reinforced concrete. They now use tubes, steel tubes, and which also. So we have one continuous tube, right? It's a pile, and it also forms part of the support of the structure. It has been seismically proven to be good, and they're making use of it. That technology is a patent of one of the engineers was in our program. So in terms of the lessons learned from the preparedness and the response to disasters, number one, coordination and collaboration is very important between the key agencies. For example, when a disaster happens, there is need to have a multi-agency approach to it. Do we have a communication channel or mechanism? For example, when we had the floods, El Nino floods, were we able to talk to the other agencies who were supposed to come in and help us resolve the problem? There's need for continuous improvement. That's very important. You also learn from the past experience, and you continuously train just to make sure that you update yourself. The resilience in terms of the designs that you undertake is very important. Not just seismic, but even now to do with other environmental factors to make your structures climate proof. I think that's the end. Thank you. So the director will give a way forward the summary of the key issues that we can be able to pick and run with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ori. Now we have 7 aspects of the way forward, which we are going to enumerate and can be able to implement. As a way forward, we want to formulate a bridge management and maintenance policy. This one we are going to work on it. And the policy will be able to address many issues to funding, how we operate as structures is concerned. And then we also going to improve on our bridge inspection data collection, structural models, where we'll be doing condition assessment, prioritization, finance and repair, and then also cost-effective management of assets. And we prioritize in budget. So essentially, what are we talking? Database making important because you cannot address something even. And we are going to adopt a whole life cycle assessment, asset management approach. I'm happy that even maintenance, they are doing a road asset management that will incorporate the BMS. And just to show the seriousness of the trip, in February this year, our team went to conduct the baseline assessment of project BASA, which now will form our future maintenance, because those structures have just been completed. And now we want to see, by opening to the traffic, how was the structure looking? And now we start monitoring it forward. The same is going to apply on the expressway, sending our team, as you are aware, the people sometime come back to Kenya for next around 20, I believe, around 70 something personally. I don't know how old some of you are here will tiring. So we'll use it so that, as you are aware and as has been indicated earlier, rapid deterioration of structure starts after 40 years. There is rapid deterioration, whereas the life span is supposed to be around 100. You can imagine, don't maintain the expressway. Remember, there was some position to construction of the expressway in view of, after many years, might, if not well maintained, might not want to look at those structures. In fact, go to countries like Thailand, Bangkok, there were some structures done many. They are very unsightly, see them. So we want to come up with a robust plans which will be able to have a clear-cut mechanism, such things. And then you are aware there is the Mombasa Gate Bridge coming up. Structure, need to put place ways in which to address such. And we're also having a large stock of structures coming on board. We have Papa Bridge, we're doing another bridge, Longspan Bridge, so some other viaducts as we go along. As you have seen, 90% of Japan is elevated. So there it can get to how the future will look like, because a lot of rapid urban, and people will now, the space will be strained. Therefore, our cities will start having interchanges, which now need capacity and expertise. So that knowledge you can be able to plan according and equip yourself adequately, so that by the time, when the time comes, able to be catered for. Yeah, I remember there was one politician, Mokisi, comes from where I come from, to tell people now we are hunting, and comes when they have put gazelle down, let you know found that you have a knife. So prepare yourself in view of this mission, so that when opportunities come, you are able to leverage on them and have the necessary knowledge and capacity. And I'm glad that came here. It's also part of that journey which I've just spoken. And just read the way the Japanese approach issues, purposes of certification, having a certificate. Look for knowledge for purposes. And this one, there's a lot of information, anything under the sun. So you can teach yourself even and have that interest and enthusiasm, this aspect. So there is the technological integration is required for efficient asset management. As engineer has indicated, currently we have disparate systems scattered all over. So we want, under road asset management, to operate this BMS, and our platform has capacity to host quite a lot. This is already, we are doing it. We have gathered information and data with the help of JICA. We have been able to get 3,500 structures, and we have rated them based on their condition. So we can now be able to say, this structure, when will we be able to address it, and what kind of measures shall we be able to address? When we have developed a 5-year plan, budgets on how structures will be addressed of their ratings. You can get the BMS report, how to come up with those ratings of structures. On that, done. Based on we have had structures within Kenya that have had challenges as far as and have had to come up and start doing some fresh, good structures. This is as a result of our our team, ourselves, the Japanese has special interest to scouring that we don't. Then we learned a lot about the issues of archiving. For example, when we do a project, if you go to the of our Parks House, you can be able to see corridors. I can show you how Mombasa Road, the gravel road, story years. So we need to address that, so that even the generation come, they can know where we're coming from and be able to see the challenges that we encountered and the solutions to them. And also, even on your own personal life, you have a life. It's even in the Bible, where you were able to 10 years back. So that when we went to that hot place, went to visit a place where there was earthquake, some very good facilities, but they were able to document how they were able to restate, and it is a castle. It was many years ago, so they have been able to retain and their heritage. So we, even as a people of this country, because even the reason why maybe some of us and a few things, they have not been grandfather. He was able to do as a chief, invented something that people are using, like the first ball. So without that, we cannot have that self-belief. Can be able, but other people have been able. I believe, say we bring last 10 years, 100 years. Even now, sometimes some of the projects, 10 years, might not be able. Out of this, we should establish a museum project. And so we'll pick it up, that one. Then we shall document collaboration between and the academia, as you able to see Nagasaki, and also some of the others who went to Birmingham, were able to see how there's that interaction between university and within. So basically, this is what we have taken, the 7 points, and we can assure you that we have the capacity, we have the will, we have everything and the correct mindset, able to ensure that what we learned there we shown, and some of them have already started. So I believe I would like to take this opportunity. Thank you for your attention and just for listening. And I believe this is just the other things to come as far as knowledge sharing is concerned. I'd also like to acknowledge our people who are online, who are following us online. In case you have any comments, you can we'll answer them. And just to go back on the issue of documentation, that issue like El Nino and what, there was a time a train, there was a time there was a train disaster in died because the drain had flooded and a train came. Perhaps we have those. How did we react? How was the action and how did we, what were the lessons learned? Quite important to get that. And now finally there is a Japanese saying, not saying, way of life called Ikigai. Ikigai means that you must have purpose. Even in Japan, you find people who are 80, 90, still working, not because they are working, because they are working because they have what, and that is their purpose in life, and that has also enhanced longevity. Because if you die, there are some people in this die, what you are waiting is just to die. Somebody who is 60 years old can live another 30 years. Some of you are not 30 years. You can imagine how many things you have done within 30 years. So, your purpose in life and love what, and with that you will have your ikigai and your life will. And then Japan, besides the other names, there's also another name called Fukuoka. Did you see it? It's Fukuoka. So we also have good names like Fukuoka, Fuku. So, so here it is. Generally, I like to start.
A more innovative hand of applause to the presenters. We make it now 5 factorial. 1. Thank you very much. We are now knowledgeable as it were. The mention of documenting our project, I think it's already something that has been picked up with the communication department alongside the research department. Just like the Mombasa Gate Bridge was conceived, I think, in 1984, most likely. The documentation was also conceived about 2021. So it's about to come to fruition. And we are now at a stage where we clarify things. If you saw some hot things and you want to clarify, the directors are here. We will take about 10 minutes in lieu of time. We are slightly behind schedule to field the questions that there may be so that we can break to our respective offices. We put at least an hour before lunch. So we start from this side. We can have somebody circulate the mic. We take 3 questions from each side, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Then we finish. If you don't take, I'll appoint somebody to take. So I want volunteers first to ask. Mara ya kwanza. This side, they're still thinking about it. A clarification from this side. Let's go to that gentleman at the center there. A mic. There. So I'll come here, I'll come back here. If there's nobody, I've already appointed somebody in mind. So be thinking. Yes.
Thank you very much, directors, for that presentation. And thank you, Director Victoria, for the idea. Birmingham team should be next in the frying. I hope we will do much better to also to match this extent of depth. I would like to just raise 2 matters. The first is the PPP systems and the lessons that Kenya could learn. Is Anshin case of management of highways a system that we could implement? And the second is on engineering, training, and systems on bridge maintenance and management. Could it be implemented differently on OJT than we are doing? How differently would that scheme be? I didn't see it captured there. Thank you very much.
We come to this row. One inquiry from this side. As they think, before I go back here, this side there's mic there.
Thank you for the presenters, Engineer Fuko, Engineer Makori. This is Engineer Butichi Hamisi, and I think in my formative years, we used to do a lot of bridges in terms of design. And I appreciate that they still carry on with the same spirit of bridge design, which is a specialized field within the engineering space. I just want to mention one thing, that I don't know how you are organized within Kenya and all the road authorities in terms of transfer of the skills. Because I attended a certain design session in some agency, and I found that the way they were designing their bridges, it is an assumption that it's just like any other structure. But we know the design in bridges is a specialized design. It has its own features which need to be considered for design. Because there is a danger of structural engineers
just adopting the normal design for slabs and beams and columns, which is not the case. That's number one. Number two, we've talked much about deterioration of bridges or due to abrasion forces. But again, most of the bridges also will fail due to impact failure. How are we addressing the issue of impact failures other than just concentrating on a long-term failure, which is abrasion? Thank you so much. If you respond to those, then... and then lastly is about archiving of our projects. In this country, we don't have a centralized system, because when you talk of documenting our projects, then I think the infrastructure industry, subsector, need to come up with a standard way, and Kenya can lead in this. Come up with a standard way of archiving and documenting all our projects. Today, if you wanted to do maintain maintenance on a certain bridge, it would be very difficult for you to find out what was the allowable live loads, what was what were the maintenance manual. So we need to develop these as you hand over the project to the public, to also have a maintenance manual and with the basic features that can be considered for maintenance in the future. Thank you so much.
All right. We have this side, we have Morocco in red. And then I come here now. So one, am I there? At the far end.
Good afternoon. I'm Teresia from service section. I'm very happy for the presentation. I don't know whether it's because at one time I visited Japan when with the ministry. I had gone for a GIS course, and I'm grateful that the team that had gone there maybe have experienced the way Japan are very much far ahead in GIS, and we can learn a lot from them. I had gone at a JICA program, and I maybe request our directors if you can consider our GIS team, because I think you can see we are still behind, that we can be considered to learn something from the Japan or other institutions that are ahead of us in GIS, so that we can take our authority ahead in GIS. It is very important in so many, it's a very important system that can help us to go much ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I will just add two more from the online platform so that we can have them addressed. Number one, how do you leverage on technology in our bridge management system with respect to mobile applications in data collection? How we leverage technology in our bridge management system with respect to mobile applications in data collection. Number two, how do we address overloading problem that causes stress, strain, and fatigue failure in our bridge systems? And third one, which has just dropped in, how is Kenya prepared in capacity building, increasing human capacity skills and knowledge transfer to engineers in graduate engineers mentorship program? I think we can address those before we take a final round of questions. So perhaps Engineer Makori can go first, or Engineer Fuko, you go first. You can do it from here.
I'll start with the last one.
the online team. There is the issue of preparedness as Kenya on human knowledge for graduate engineers. As we have all been aware, Kenya has been running a graduate engineer mentorship program. I believe to date, we are even having a WhatsApp group, which we have around 480 something members. And perhaps the area that we have not been able to touch, we have been concentrating on the highways. This is an area that has great potential. We will be looking at it, and even today is part of the training. You know, it doesn't have to be in a formal class where you come with pen and papers and whatnot. You gain knowledge. What was just even being projected is part of capacity building in terms of what you need to know. But we'll sit down with my team and develop something that can easily be understood. And as you are aware, on that forum, we are doing a graduate engineer training manual. And that manual, perhaps we should be able to get it out in the course of this month or maybe latest next month. And we have also asked other experts to give us their input. A manual that when anybody is given anyone who knows how to read can be able to follow through, and then maybe they can ask questions. And over time, as you interact and acclimatize yourself with issues to do with structures, of which we shall be offering a lot of opportunities like this. As you heard Engineer Makori was saying, we also have other lecturers slated to come to assist us in that. So we'll do that, and in that training manual, we also have a section for bridges. I recall when we were employed in the ministry, we had the chance. I started at the bridges section, and there was a training manual, which every time you interact with it, and then you are given an assignment, you were able just to navigate with further reading and searching. So this one, we'll take it up. Regarding address of overloading problems, as you are aware, Kenya has one of the most robust axle load unit. In fact, even it works so well until people say that the only thing they fear in Kenya is the axle load unit. They say they don't fear Chaimoto, they don't fear anything, but they fear the axle load unit. So this axle unit has really helped us to address these things from even the source, starting from the port of Mombasa, where there's an overloading. We have weight bridges, we have virtual weight bridges, and then also we are finding ways in which we can enhance capacity, especially as far as this is concerned. But I can assure you that rarely do we have overloading beyond what is within our network. And this normally perhaps, unless it is just that localized traffic, that perhaps comes from other networks and we cannot be able to police accordingly. But you can also see that those who are caught, the fines are very punitive and they deter any repeat. On the issue of Teresia, GIS, this one, not only GIS, we want to move to a situation whereby we invest in the young engineers, not only local training. You know, when you go out to train in another country, it's not about just what you get from a training aspect. There are many aspects to do with life. You get to know how other people live. You get to know the different cultures. You gain confidence. You are able to speak before other people. You are able to do presentation. You appreciate other people. So we have our engineer who is in charge of human resource committee. And also he looks at issues to do with training. Perhaps we shall start giving chance, because we are looking into the future, whereby we need people who are well-grounded, who have traveled and are able to address some of the challenges that come. So there is hope that young engineers will train not only locally but also in future, and so that we build capacity in that area. Then I think what I can say regarding centralized way, standard way of archiving, this one we are on it. We will do continuous improvement, but at least we have started. That is the beauty. I think Engineer Makori, I leave you to address a few of the rest. But the issue of Engineer Butticha, I can take one of your questions in regards to transfer of skills. That is exactly what I've said. There is a plan. We are the organization that has really taken this matter seriously. And on the issues of assumption of designs, an engineer worth his salt, I don't think he can just go somewhere and start assuming. There are design parameters that one needs to check before he can embark on a design. I recall there was a case whereby one contractor did material investigation to obtain a quarry, and I think they only went to a place where there was one stone like that speaker. Kumbe it was just one stone, and then after doing drilling and whatnot, and then they had acquired that, they only found one stone, and they could not take the place. So we do a lot of thorough checks and due diligence before we embark on such designs. Otherwise, one will be a juakali, a quack engineer. Yeah, but we are on it. We are cognizant of that.
Thank you, Director. I want to respond to Engineer Puge. I want to agree with you. We can learn so much from the Anshin Expressway model. I don't know, I think that was a comment. It wasn't a question. Was it a question? Maybe it didn't come out very clear, but of course, the time we had, we could not be able to demonstrate everything. But of importance to note is the model they have. It's called build, transfer, and operate. So the expressway will build the expressway, the infrastructure rather, transfer it to the public, to the government, and then they'll go back and operate the very infrastructure they build. And it's because by law in Japan, every road, every bridge belongs to the government, either the central government, the prefecture government, or the municipality. Two, the issues of tax around assets. There is a law, you have to pay some tax every year if it's a private asset. So to evade that, and it's a huge amount of money, they have to transfer the facility to the public. So maybe we might not have demonstrated everything here, but there's so much we can be able to share on how we can be able to onboard the lessons with the PPP Directorate. Secondly, the issue of on-job training. We do a lot of on-job training in Kenya. In Kenya, actually. Let me just be specific. In Kenya, we do a lot of training. The problem has been the attitude of the trainees. Let's just be honest. The attitude of the trainees is one thing. I've not seen an engineer, for example, holding a poker vibrator on site. The reason why we don't do it is because we think hiyo ni kazi ya mtu ya mjengo. You see, the attitude we have. And here in Japan, the professors are actually doing the repair works themselves. They're able to demonstrate and they're actually doing it. And they schedule within their work plans when they're supposed to be attending to a particular structure. So it's not about theory work. So Engineer Puge, let's fix our attitude and it should start with you. Engineer Butich, the defective designs we normally have. If anybody will design, for example, I want to pick your example, the slab of a bridge, the same way we normally design the slab of a building. That is not a bridge engineer. That's a quack. Because for you to design a bridge, you must be trained and you must know which codes to apply and you must know how to detail the design properly. We've received so many defective designs as Kenya because we rely on consultancy-based designs. And we normally reject them. Maybe you came across one of those and it was rejected because we can't implement it. So these people need to be trained properly, and Kenya is providing that training, by the way. We are very strong in terms of training the graduate engineers. The issue of abrasion forces and the impact, losing a structure because of impact forces. In case it's for example, in case of a river, maybe carrying some wood, driftwood, what we normally call driftwood. If any section is prone to those kind of debris that can cause some serious impact on a structure, we are supposed to trap the debris before it gets to a structure. There are areas, of course, where we fail short of doing that, but we might investigate and be able to implement the correct remedial measure. In Japan, every stream has a trap that takes care of the debris, the stones, the wood, anything that can actually cause some impact to a structure. And they come before the rainfall and after the rainfall to check whether there's anything trapped, and they clean it. So we might borrow from that. Impact from moving vehicles. Well, we sometimes want to factor that in the design, but you can imagine the impact that will have in the overall economy of our structures. If we were to, for example, factor in impact from maybe I don't know, maybe a 40-ton trailer, it will be huge. But we normally have a factor input in the design loading. Archiving, I think that has been dealt with already. Leveraging the technology, mobile technology. Now, we have a bridge management system in Kenya. We have a mobile application, a mobile-based application we use to collect data. And that also allows us to pick the data and transmit it real-time to the server. So we're making use of it. Maybe the person who asked this particular question can get in touch. We can be able to provide more information on that. I think all the other questions have been answered.
All right. The online audience is more active. We can start off the final round of questions with their question. Number one, the issue of climate resilient infrastructure. How can this be mainstreamed in BMS? That is number one. Number two, what are the components that a bridge management system should have? What are the components that the bridge management system should have? And then this row also have sent their message and text, and they are saying, number one of their question is, they saw a crack on a road in Japan. So was it caused by an earthquake or a substandard sub-base? And how is it attended to? And they are also asking, how can they be trained to be a specialized Michimori in that regard? Do we have any other burning question? Because after this round, we'll close. I want to see how many do we have? Burning questions. This row, yeah, Maenda. This row, one. This row, I think, you know, Puge has represented you well. Next time he's operating a forklift when we are out in the field. I'll record that. This row, we have 1 and 2, then we close. So we start with the gentleman, because the boy child is in trouble, and the lady can be last this time around.
So, good afternoon. My name is Ben Sona. So, my question is, based on our workshop that we had date 12 and 13, that's, we discussed about the strengthening capacity of the management system for the same JICA. But now, today, from our directors, Director Foucault and Engineer Makori, my question will be on the components of the BMS. One of the components is the structural analysis and assessment of the bridge. Do the BMS itself, since it's a spreadsheet, captures the FEM analysis, and also will it provide maybe the maintenance planning for the same? Yeah.
Okay, and the lady?
Okay. For me, I have 2 questions, stroke concern. One, I'm standing on behalf of those other KENHA employees that are not engineers. So I have heard a lot have been said about improving the knowledge, engineers. So where do as others who work for Kenha, who are not engineers, fall under? Because we see we also contribute to the end result. So that is one. The other question, as a physical planner, we concentrate majorly on public participation. And we see, for example, in that construction of bridges, we construct all these bridges and roads for the people. And you can construct something very good, but since the public has no knowledge of using it, then there is no the expected results. So what the question is, how as Kenha or maybe Japan has ensured that that knowledge of how to use and how to maintain is also passed to the public, so that even the cost of maintenance cannot be that much. For example, they said about that point of the earthquake, the public is noticed, it sent a message so that they can be able to prepare, even as the authority itself, the one that constructed, also have ways to prepare. So how is the public, how are you planning to dispense that knowledge to the public also?
All right, thank you very much. Very critical questions. We can start with Director Foucault and then Engineer Makor.
Let me start by answering the one that just came, the last one. How can we incorporate you as an engineer, as not as an engineer, but if you are not an engineer, other staff in all this the presentation and what we have planned to do? What I can state is that I started with the issues of culture, the Japanese way. So the most important thing is adopt the soft skills, the Japanese way of doing things. You keep time, you are polite, you are all those things that incorporates good human behavior. And with that, you'll be able to scale up. Is a very good lesson from this. And also in whatever that you'll be doing, it will come in good state if you embrace the things, not only even at work, even at home, and your own personal relationship with other people. Your networks will also increase, because people generally like good people. And based on what we have, they exemplify a perfect. In fact, if I was in Jehovah's Witness, I will say that I'd reached that New Jerusalem when I was in Japan, because everybody was very good. You don't believe it in terms of their behavior. Even when they are walking on the street, they are in files, in order. Everyone is too polite till you wonder, is this really on earth? So if you emulate those characters, you will be it will come up very well. On physical planning, knowledge of using the facilities, I believe majorly you could be talking of footbridges. Mostly that's because that is, I have not seen somebody refuse to use Tana River, because it is the only crossing over there, so they know how to use it. Perhaps issues of overloading is where we can be able to deter them. But on issues of footbridges, it is also our designs. We are going to improve our designs to be able to channelize people. As I was even discussing the other day with Engineer Makori, we have done very good structures along Langata Road, near the Uhuru Garden, near the church where I go there, and we have put a zebra crossing down. But so it negates the whole process of using. So we are going to put a barrier in between, because even in this developed country, it's not that people are so much in their good behavior. It is some mechanisms that have been put in place to even guide their behaviors. Because human being generally, inherently is, if I use the word, has proclivities to misbehave if there are no checks and balances. So we will be able to put, even in developed countries, they have even fenced their highways. Not otherwise, if they didn't do that, they will not be doing order. So we'll work on our designs and ensure that where we have those oversights, people are not using the facilities, we'll incorporate that as part of continuous improvement. Then how we can use that culture, I believe that one Engineer Makori can be able to address. He will address also depends on strengthening of capacity, BMS, how it can do structural analysis. And you are wondering, somebody wondered why there are cracks on a road in Japan. You see, you know, Kenya also has very good roads, and it doesn't mean that in Japan we don't have a pavement that has aged. And maybe that was just an isolated crack left solely for our training. Maybe. So, you know, there was a time, I don't know which year, when I was in South Rift. I was the regional manager, and we had inspectors that we wanted to train. Do you know that I looked for potholes in Nakuru and I could not get to train them on how to patch a pothole? So I believe as a country we are also headed in the direct direction, because whereby people should wonder if it's a pothole, zero pothole policy. So this was, there were cracks, of course, and they took us there and they have been addressed, and it was also issues to do with aging infrastructure. So when infrastructure ages, you know how to address it. You do crack sealing. And then engineer will work on components of BMS that it should have. Then on issue of climate resilience infrastructure, as we speak, based on what we saw during the El Nino, we'll be coming up with some ways of how to be able to address the issues of especially flooding by being able to predict and do flood estimate. As you are aware, the methods that are available, the Mannings, the TRL, whatever methods that have been used, I think they have been overtaken with time. So we are going to develop new models, we maybe through consultancies, that can give us accurate data on the issues of flooding that will help us to size our structures accordingly. So by this information, already I'm giving you some information on areas of opportunities, areas to do, issues to do with floods and whatnot. You can come and develop something and work on it. Yes.
Thank you. I want to respond to the young lady. She did not say her name. She said she's representing the non-engineers. Yes, it came out more that we are like training engineer, but like the chairman of the HRAC, I want to assure you that we are training all our staff. And this year, we are really concentrating on group training. And this is what the DG did, that we are having several of us in Naivasha. And the reason of that is that we can be able to leverage on a good trainer who will be cheaper than us going maybe outside the country. You also know that the government has put a stop on the training, but we are put also we have put structures to be able to train each and everybody. And everybody in Kenya is supposed to have at least, and I want to say at least 5 days training. But we'll still continue to make sure that all of us go together, because we cannot only have engineers who are trained and the other staff are not trained.
Picking from the two directors, I think even the non-engineers have a role to play in asset management. For instance, we have a surveyor in surveying department who has actually transitioned to be a civil engineer because he was able to do a PhD in deterioration of structures, monitoring of deterioration of structures in Japan. So, and he's also involved. I also mentioned that in terms of monitoring the facilities, surveyors are involved. Maybe the planners, kindly welcome on board. You can help us to manage our right-of-way. Now, the modules we have in the BMS, we have quite a number of modules, and depending on the objective of the system you want to develop, we first of all have to have an inventory of all the assets that you have. Number two, we need to have a condition assessment module the structural assessment module. The other module that we need is an optimization module that now gives kind of a comparison of the various options that are available for you in terms of maintenance of the facility. And the last module, of course, is deterioration model. You also need to track how your structure is deteriorating. I think I've answered.
And just to emphasize on what the officer asked there, sometimes we engineers tend to be excited by the blacktop and forget the soft skills. So I'm glad that you brought up, and but I can assure you we are accommodative to the extent that the chair has promised. The next trip to Japan, it will have 2 non-engineers. So don't worry. Now, we have only 3 speakers between us and refreshments. I am going now to train them how to make elevator speeches. And I start with Nyamasege to come on stage. I will be standing here purposely for that. He will make an elevator speech. He will assume he has met the head of state in this elevator. He's going to 3rd floor. He will tell him all he wanted in 3 minutes. And I will confiscate the mic if he goes past that.
Thank you, my senior Kumba. We will share the minutes. My DD will come and do the closing remarks, but I just want to thank you for coming. The online audience across our regions and the corridor offices for finding time to participate in this engagement. We are going to have many of this, and it will address the engineers and, of course, the other support departments. And it's a great, it's a great initiative. We desire that everyone will be able to participate so that we learn from each other. And we have the assurance that when there are those opportunities to attend various programs, then you would have an opportunity to come and stand here and also give us insights on the lessons learned and the best practice from whatever programs that we may have participated. So with that, I wish to welcome Engineer Dr. Victoria to come on the floor. And be on the lookout for the next session, which I want to leave that to her to mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Geoffrey. How do you feel? Are you learned? I felt like I've gone to Japan. The cities are out. Thank you very much, each and every one of you, for your time, for the concentration. I didn't see anyone walk away. I didn't see anyone sleeping. So it means our speakers have done justice to the time that we had. And I hope each and every one of us have had a fruitful session today. I would also like to thank the online participants. There were very many. I think I saw up to 250 something. Thank you very much for joining us online. A special one to our DG in his absence for staying on for the entire presentation, spending with us almost 2 hours out of his busy schedule. A thank you to him. And to our director, thank you very much for even leaving the session in Naivasha, which is part of the training that we are talking about, to come and be with us here. Thank you very much. Now, just a brief one on the next knowledge sharing session. The next one will be in June this year. As we said, it's quarterly, and we are going to discuss something about public-private partnership. Remember our sources of income. Yes, and we need to find ways of ensuring that we can meet our budgets And PPP is one of those avenues. So we will be having a presentation from the PPP team, but also we'll have a guest speaker to help us understand more about public-private partnership. Lastly, we have some refreshments for each and every one of us. And so please feel free to take a cup of tea and snacks before you go back to your workstations. And to our friends from Japan, we appreciate your presence here. We appreciate the collaboration, and we appreciate the technical expertise that you've been able to share with our teams. Otherwise, thank you very much. I will return it back to the MC.
Thank you very much, Director. I think we are finalized with the speeches. As we welcome DG to close this session, I want to assure DG that we have now learned that coming late to functions ilikuwa ni kiburi kidogo tu, and that given that our team actually changed upon landing in Osaka and they have brought it here, we can adopt it so that we all are just in time. And I think the Director will be generous enough to be giving us 15 minutes to sleep after working for 2-3 hours. It's more productive. So I welcome Director. A round of applause for the others as he comes on stage to close for us. Angela Gisharu can be on standby as we will be closing shortly.
Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? I'm telling Kumba that it was an ambush. Actually, I delegated everything to my deputy director. But I don't want to repeat myself. I want to say thank you very much. When we were doing this, we never thought we'd get all this audience. So we are really grateful. And like we have been told, the next one in June, we'll want it to be even much better. The DG requested that we could have external facilitators. We'll actually try and bring one of them, especially maybe on quality assurance, maybe from General Motors. I've talked with them before, and we would also get good lessons on quality assurance. And what I mean by quality assurance, if we are doing a pothole in Eastern and somebody else is doing a pothole in Central, if we have very good quality control or quality assurance, it should be the same. And that's what people in General Motors do. They do not take chances. So we try and bring them. So again, thank you very much. There's tea that is offered. Please, my team cannot finish it. So all of you, make sure that you partake something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. There is Angela Gisharu. Is she here? To make our way to the stage. Thank you very much. And she will pray for the tea and also anything that is ahead of us. Karibu sana. And from the Master of Ceremony, from Director of Ceremony, thank you very much for following instructions.
Good afternoon. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the success that this forum has been. We pray that you will be with us as we depart from this place. As we go to take our refreshments, we pray that you bless them. We pray that you may be with us throughout the remainder of the day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you very much. So is Engineer Howard here? Engineer Howard? He has not come. He could have given the final speech. So we are all welcome for tea, and thank you very much for showing up. Where tea is? At first floor, third floor. Oh, you will need a meal card for the tea, I'm told. So let's all be channelized to this direction. So it might not be lunch anyway. So we go this direction, get your meal card, and go for the meal.